I'm Monty. That's Jake. And Jim Harbaugh has been suspended 3 game days by the NCAA. Not really. And that seems to be the conversation today. The Big Ten took action against Jim Harbaugh in Michigan, suspending Harbaugh what amounts to 3 game days, Penn State, Maryland, and Ohio State. Jim Harbaugh, according to the letter of the suspension from the Big Ten, will not be allowed to coach on game day. In fact, Jim Harbaugh will not be allowed to be at the stadium where Michigan is playing on game day. He can, however, coach and prepare the team during the week. He simply is not allowed to be active or in communication with the Wolverine football program on game day for the next 3 weeks. Jake, first off, is the suspension enough?
Yeah, I think we won't know the answer to that until the NCAA, decides what exactly they're going to do. I mean, just on its face, I don't think it's enough. I think that this was a large-scale operation that Michigan absolutely executed to a T, and give them credit. I mean, they got an advantage. They used that advantage, in my opinion, and that won them a bunch of games. However, now you've been caught. And so the question is, just how far will the discipline go? Because this is very much a layered conversation. I'm hoping that Tony Petiti only did 3 game days because he has been working with the NCAA and understands the NCAA's position and what the NCAA is likely to do. So if it's just the 3 game days and we get, not much out of the NCAA, no, it wasn't enough. But I think my suspicion is there's probably more to this story as time goes on.
Here, let me say what most people are already saying. This is a weak-ass punishment. It's not nearly enough. It is not nearly severely or severe enough based on what the Big Ten found, and we're going to get into their statement in a minute. But let's make something very clear. According to the Big Ten, Michigan's sign-stealing operation impacted the integrity and really the outcome of football games this season and beforehand. That's the crux of the argument that the Big Ten is making in the suspension. So you only suspended him 3 games. Now, sources close to us sources close to the situation told us today, that the Big Ten only acted on 3 games instead of 4 because they believe their purview is only over regular season games. The Big Ten, our sources tell us, believes that the Big Ten championship game and all other postseason games are under the purview of the NCAA. We are told that the NCAA has indicated to the Big Ten that they will be leveling further discipline against Michigan football once their investigation is final. And I think one of the things that is so very clear here, the Big Ten and the NCAA, as we told you last week, have been talking on a regular basis about the findings of these investigations. The NCAA, according to our sources, told Michigan that they have video evidence of staffers from Michigan football in possession of video that people Connor Stalions gave his tickets to, went to those venues, videotaped those signs, and sent them back to Michigan, where they use that video. Staffers at Michigan football use that video to steal signs and impact the outcome of games. That is what the NCAA, at least according to our sources, told the Big Ten during their investigation of Michigan football in this cheating scandal. I think that this is a very light suspension. I think it is almost no penalty at all. In essence, Jim Harbaugh took a 3-day rip, a 3-game day rip for stealing signs. That's the penalty from the Big Ten. But I don't know, Jake, and I don't know what you think, and I don't know what everybody in the comment section thinks. I am certain that the NCAA is going to hand down a significant penalty here, but that does not fix the current problem. And the current problem is Michigan football, in my opinion, has not been punished for this sign-stealing scandal, their operation. Taking Jim Harbaugh off the sideline on game day will have no impact on this football team. He still has the full ability to prepare this team during the week. And I think everybody to a man who's ever partaken in football would agree with this. The head coach has his least impact on game day. His least impact. The signs are sent in. The players have to play the game. If Jim Harbaugh was playing games, okay, we could have this conversation. Jim Harbaugh is a bystander on game day, and largely that is his role. He does not call plays. He does not send in signals. The only impact this will have is timeout and clock management, and Jim Harbaugh has an excellent staff at Michigan. Jake, I just don't feel like this is much of a penalty for Michigan at all.
No, I mean, it's not as though this is some hammer or like, debilitating discipline that's going to, crush your season or like put you even in a bad place for tomorrow. I mean, this is not some crazy discipline. And I think this kind of goes to the conversation we've been having up until this point about the position Tony Petiti's in, because Tony Petiti, while he is the guy that's got to levy the punishment, also as your commissioner has to weigh the health of the conference and the revenue of the conference in the big picture versus how much we want to discipline Michigan for what they did. So as an example of that, okay, we maybe don't want to, take Michigan out of the playoff picture, right? We don't want to discipline Michigan so much to a point where we would put them in a place where they're probably going to lose to Penn State or would probably lose any of these next 3 games. Because if we did that, we'd be hurting the conference's potential revenue through bowl games and college football playoff situations and so forth. So I think if you're Tony Petiti, yeah, you're in a difficult position, but that doesn't change the fact that this is a really light penalty. And I am a little surprised that it was just, hey, Jim, you can't be in the venue on game day. I mean, that's essentially what this is for the next 3 weeks. Like you just said.
It's a 3 game day suspension.
Yeah, I mean, you can still coach your players. You can still be fully involved in the process. And I think the best point that has been made, and this is your point, is that Connor Stalions, it feels like because of this discipline, has just been turned into the fall guy. Hey, you let this kid go, or he resigned, or he's not part of the program, whatever verbiage you want to use. And now we're just going to take Jim off the sideline for 3 game weeks, and that's it.
And he's not, it doesn't at least appear, and I could be wrong, and if I've missed it, I'm sure somebody in the comment section will correct me. There's no financial penalty attached to this because he's working during the week. You're not going to fine him game checks. He's not suspended without pay. That verbiage was very clear from the Big Ten. I just don't see that this is much of a penalty at all. I don't see that this is something where, oh my God, I don't know what we're going to do here, or how are we ever going to survive this? Or
yeah,
I don't see any of that at all. And I think when you look at the statement from the Big Ten, you look at the bottom paragraph here. I just don't think that this is saying much at all. As a penalty imposed on the institution, the University of football team must compete without its head coach for the games remaining in the 2023 regular season, effective immediately. So it's a 3 game day suspension. The head football coach shall not be present at the game venue on the dates of games to which this disciplinary action applies. This is not a penalty at all. And the thing that is even more frustrating than this is that the Big Ten in additional statements has said the university's November 8th response does not deny that the impermissible scheme occurred. Instead, it offers only procedural and technical arguments designed to delay accountability. And this is the argument that I had with Michigan Hall of Famer Charles Woodson on Twitter yesterday. You never denied you did this. Michigan, not one time, from no corner of the Michigan athletic department or the University of Michigan, their president, their athletic director, their football staff, their lawyers, nobody at Michigan has ever denied that all of this went on. Nobody. And the NCAA, we're told, it took that very seriously. And when you look at the mounting evidence and you look at what the Big Ten did today, I don't think there's any question that disciplining Jim Harbaugh in Michigan is going to largely be left to the NCAA, because the NCAA has a far, far bigger axe to grind with Jim Harbaugh. We're talking about the level 1 and level 2 COVID period recruiting violations. This FBI investigation that's ongoing, I am told, is at the very top of the list of priorities for the NCAA when it comes to Michigan, fully understanding what Matt Weiss, what these computer crime allegations against Matt Weiss, the former offensive coordinator at Michigan. And the FBI has been on campus and been investigating that situation for now going on 7 weeks. I'm told by our sources that the NCAA has that situation at the top of their radar. On top of that, you add the sign stealing stuff. I mean, I think the NCAA is going to come out and hand Jim Harbaugh a 12-month suspension when this season is over, and when they are done with their COVID period investigation, which I'm told is over, and they will hand down discipline once the season's over. You add that on top of this situation with the sign stealing stuff. You add that on top of this situation with Matt Weiss and the FBI. This is just the beginning for Jim Harbaugh. That doesn't change the fact that Jim Harbaugh, I don't believe, is facing any repercussions. And I'm not trying to make this out to be that Jim got a free pass, because I'm not saying he got a free pass. You're not going to be at 3 football games, the 3 biggest and 3 only games of the year that matter to Michigan, because they've played absolutely nobody this season. They have not been tested one time. And I think we're going to find out tomorrow at Beaver Stadium, Happy Ending Valley with the Fighting Paternos, where Michigan, I would also point out, Michigan's a 4-point favorite on a 44.5 number. So they have not been tested. Not one time this season. We'll find out tomorrow. But I think it speaks volumes that, as we've been telling you on this show for 2 weeks, Michigan never denied it happened.
And that clearly stood out to the Big Ten.
Yes, it did.
And I think that, the aggressive nature that they took with that response, to the Big Ten really, really, I think, played a big role in what was a small punishment. I mean, it is probably unfair to say Jim got a free pass, but this, in my opinion, is largely
if there was ever a slap on the wrist.
And the thing is I wouldn't be calling it a free pass if you had put Michigan in a more difficult situation and go out and win these ball games. But you've essentially just said, hey, Jim, you're not going to be able to be in the venue on game day, for the next 3 weeks, but go ahead and coach your team, prepare them like you always do, keep the team on the same track. Cause that's what I really noticed about this is, like, Tony is playing the PR game in a sense too, where, like, and I'm not trying to vilify Tony, but I think it's really important to understand this. Like, Tony Petiti doesn't want Michigan out of playoff contention. That's not the goal here. If you're the commissioner of the Big Ten, you want as many opportunities to get those college football playoff shares as you can get. And Michigan obviously is probably your best opportunity to get into the college football playoff. Obviously, Ohio State's in that conversation. So for Tony, he's sitting here saying, okay, how can we punish these guys without kneecapping them for the most important games of their season? And that's what this is. Hey, let's take him out of the venue, but let's allow him to prepare his team and let's move on about our life.
Yeah, I also think, as the graphic on the screen talks about Michigan's response to this, I think it is really telling that when you read this from the Big Ten, there must be nothing wrong with the university's activities. The university also argues that because it believes that others are engaged in decoding signs, there must be nothing wrong with the university's activity, in addition to impermissible activities of others being currently unsupported by facts. Unsupported by facts, the university's culpability is not dependent on the actions of other institutions. Those assertions are fully addressed in section 3 and 5 below. Well, that wasn't good enough for Michigan, because Michigan again came out today and aggressively criticized Tony Petiti. Like all members of the Big Ten Conference, we are entitled to fair, deliberate, and thoughtful process to determine a full set of facts before a judgment is rendered. And again, here's my point. What about this was not a fair and due process?
Yeah, that's been my biggest question. You talked about that Twitter interaction you had with Charles Woodson, Desmond Howard today on ESPN, all the Michigan guys talking about how we deserve due process and you're circumventing due process. I got news for you. The Big Ten process is independent of the NCAA process. So you were served due process as far as the Big Ten is concerned. And I don't understand why that's so difficult to wrap our hands around. I mean, it's very clear. The Big Ten was going to do something about this. Now, they didn't do a ton about it, in my opinion, but they did do something about it. So Michigan fans and representatives and alumni, the Michigan squad is out here complaining that they didn't get due process. And I'm just sitting here like, you're right. The NCAA due process is still due processing. The Big Ten process is finished.
Yeah.
And that's what this is.
Yeah. And I think when you read this statement, like the thing that I'm curious about is what do you want? If you're Michigan with this statement, what did you expect fair process to mean? Oh, that's right, that there would be no discipline at all until the season was over, so you could unaffectedly compete for a national championship.
Facts.
That's what Michigan and the Michigan mouthpieces want. They want no penalty. They want to be above the rule book, and that simply isn't an option. And I think the Big Ten made it clear that the response on, what was it? I guess Wednesday was over the top. And then you look at this one. This is from Michigan. Today's action by Commissioner Petiti disregards the conference's own handbook, violates basic tenets of due process, and sets an untenable precedent for assessing penalties before an investigation has been completed. How has an investigation not been completed? You never denied it. If you'd have said, well, we never did that, you don't have evidence we did that. Oh, that's right. You can't say that because there is financial evidence from a public Venmo account, from, purchase history of tickets in Connor Stalions' name, from videotape evidence from every other member of the Big Ten, focused on the seats that Stalions bought, where people are in those seats shooting the sidelines, testimony from one of the people who was hired to go to the game, talking about how he was given a ticket, he was given money, he went to the game for a half because it was raining, videotaped the sideline. That video was then sent to a cloud folder, and the NCAA, according to our sources, told Michigan they have access to that. Michigan coaching staff has access to that folder. What evidence, what due process was lacking here? That's what I need to understand. If you're going to make a statement like this, you better have evidence that due process was not filed or followed, and they do not. We are dismayed at the commissioner's rush to judgment when there's an ongoing NCAA investigation, one in which we are fully cooperating. Well, the issue here is the Big Ten doesn't have to wait. There is nowhere in the Big Ten rulebook, and this is that thing that we do in this world now, where when we know we're in the wrong, we come out, we talk like a tough guy, and then we run for the hills and don't do interviews, and we don't have conversations, and we don't talk about it. So what due process? Where in the Big Ten rulebook does it say that Tony Petiti or the commissioner of the Big Ten has to wait for the NCAA? Because it doesn't say that anywhere.
And Michigan people, supporters, would be outraged if Tony Petiti, didn't discipline another school that had done wrong by Michigan, if the roles were reversed. And that's what is so incredible to me.
And if you look at the bottom paragraph here, 10.2.2, this is from the Big Ten rulebook. In the event the commissioner determines that an offensive action has occurred, the commissioner shall have the authority to impose any disciplinary action in response to the offensive action, subject to provisions of the agreement 10.331 and below. So what is it that in that paragraph that you agreed to follow as a member of the Big Ten do you disagree with? Because the other thing that nobody is talking about, to levy this suspension, what did Tony Petiti have to do? He had to go to the Big Ten President's Council and say, I want to suspend Jim Harbaugh more than 2 games. I want to suspend him 3 game days. Because by the letter of the rule of the handbook, Tony Petiti, on his own volition, can suspend Jim Harbaugh 2 games and $10,000. So he went and he got the support of the presidents of the Big Ten. So Michigan can bloviate and Michigan can puff their chest out about how they're going to seek a court order. By taking this action at this hour, the commissioner is personally inserting himself onto the sidelines and altering the level playing field that he is claiming to preserve. Well, isn't that rich?
Seriously.
And doing so on Veterans Day, a court holiday, to try and thwart the university from seeking immediate judicial relief is hardly a profile in impartiality. To ensure fairness in the process, we intend to seek a court order together with Coach Harbaugh preventing this disciplinary action. Well, to which I say, knock yourself out, friends. But why? And I know this has been talked about all over the place. MSNBC did a great piece on this morning. Why would a judge intervene on behalf of Michigan and Jim Harbaugh? Because the thing that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh don't want to talk about when you have a hearing for an injunction or a temporary restraining order, and my guess is they'd be asking for an injunction. Do you think that the Big Ten doesn't get to present evidence at that hearing? No, you don't. And so there is a common belief that they're not going to go to court for this. Because if they go to court and they file for a what most people, I think an injunction is probably what we're looking at, a motion to have a judge rule that this discipline cannot be implemented until a full hearing is held. Well, as part of that ruling, a judge will hear evidence from both sides in this hearing. And if the Big Ten goes to court, they are going to present video evidence. They are going to present financial documents. They are going to present all of this evidence. And I would also remind you, they are going to have a statement, an affidavit entered into the record from the NCAA. And I would also imagine the other thing that Michigan doesn't want to take part in, because if this goes to a full-blown hearing, there will be discovery. And if there is discovery, there is not a chance in the world that Michigan can prevail.
And so that's why I say, why are we taking the bold, loud barking strategy? Why are we trying to make as much noise as possible at Michigan? Did you not just get handed a gift? Did you not just get the rest of your season's success on a silver platter? That's what I don't understand here at the end of this is like, wow, man, like they're allowing you to still be part of the process, prepare the team, do what you always do. And yet that's still not good enough because you want to play the victim card. What's going to happen?
Remarkable.
What's going to happen when the NCAA truly drops the hammer on you and Jim? Because I don't buy for a second that the NCAA is only going to discipline Jim. The school will take some suffering as part of that. And I don't know why Michigan chooses to be so bullish on this. Why not just say, yeah, okay, cool. He can't be in the building for 3 games. Great. We did all that. We won all those games. I think what was that graphic on ESPN the other day? He's 21-1 since Connor Stalions came into the program.
Correct.
Cool. We won 99% of our games, and it cost us 3 game days in the regular season. Awesome. I'll take that all day.
And I think one of the other parts of this, before we get to your comments, one of the other parts of this that is so significant is this Blake Corum angle. Because now that Blake Corum angle is starting to pick up steam. More people are talking about the fact that Blake Corum came out the other day, the fine running back at Michigan, who is on an LLC filing in Wyoming with Connor Stalions as one of 3 partners. And Michigan fan was just so over the top that Blake Corum, He said he didn't do it. He didn't sign it. Okay, well then why hasn't his lawyer filed charges against Connor Stalions? Why hasn't Blake Corum's attorney made a public statement? Oh, because maybe there was no forgery. And what does that mean? Well, what that means is that Blake Corum's probably ineligible for every game he played after he signed that, because you are not allowed to be in business. You are not allowed to be in business with coaches and players. A coach and a player, and I want to make this clear, a coach and a current player cannot open a business together at the NCAA level. It is against the rules. So Balake would actually be ineligible. So again, I'm just asking, why did Blake Corum talk to the media about this? Why? Because all it did is bring a flamethrower. Hello?
A blowtorch.
Because I was talking to a guy last night about this who said it's very cut and dry. From a rule book standpoint, it's either a forgery case, which is a federal felony, opening an LLC while forging somebody's name. And I will tell you, as somebody who has been through that process, every LLC has an affidavit attached to it where you check the box that says all this information is true and correct. And that box is checked, and Connor Stalions signed that document. And if, in fact, Blake Corum knows nothing about this, he's going to Leavenworth. That's a federal crime. And you're not going to, it's forgery. I believe it's wire fraud, and it's financial crimes as well. Because any money that he made or any money that he outlaid, took in, put out, that's a felony.
Yeah.
So what is it? Are you ineligible, or is Connor Stalions going to federal prison?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know why you would comment on it. I don't
Really
know why.
dumb.
I don't know why you thought it would be cool to do the what I call the liar dance, where, you notice anytime someone's lying to the media, they do the little sway. They kind of go back and forth, and you can kind of tell they're real hesitant. They're being real careful. They've been coached to say that, yeah, man, I really appreciate whoever found that. My attorney's going to take care of it, and I knew nothing about this, and I'm not in business with Connor. And I love that. He references him by his first name. And I'm not in business with Connor. You're on a first name basis, though, right? You guys know each other well. So it's just a bad look. And I don't know. That's one of the angles where I'm like, hey, how far does that get vetted out? Something's got to happen with that.
Well, you talked about it in front of the media anyway. I could go the stupidity, the public chest puffing from Michigan has really hurt them. It's really, and I just feel like, and this might be taking a stretch too far, but I doubt it. I feel like they're not thinking right, and they really need to get to BuckedUp.com and get some buckshot, because that seems like it would really help Blake Corum a lot.
Facts.
If he had 200 milligrams of naturally sourced caffeine with a bunch of brain food, my guess is he'd have said no comment. But because he wasn't bucked up, he may have gotten himself in a whole world of hurt. Bucked Up, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Here it is right here, you guys, in the description below. I had somebody DM me. Kevin DM'd me on Twitter last night, and he's like, man, I always think people are full of shit when they're talking about their partner products and they never work. They just want you to try them. You gave it to me free, and it was amazing.
I mean, we don't lie.
Dude, that's why Bucked Up gives you 6 free buckshots, because they know once you try it once, twice, 2 times, 3 times, it's going to change the way you do things every day. Because once you figure out just how effective buckshot is at clearing your mind, getting rid of your headache, giving you that boost when you come back from lunch, or maybe it's 10 in the morning and you've gone to the gym and you had some carbs for breakfast and you're crashing, pop a buckshot, and trust me when I say you're going to get a lift out of it.
Bro, I can't get mine open. This thing is rock solid,
Do
bro.
you even lift?
No, I don't.
And if you're headed out like me, it's probably the last golf weekend available to us, because it's going to be winter. Well, it is winter.
Winter is coming.
Take a buckshot out on the golf course with you. When you get to the 9th, you get to the turn, pop the buckshot, and I promise you You're going to have more mental clarity. You're going to have better vision. You're going to be able to think through your round much better when you pop a buck shot. BuckedUp.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off. Bro.
I can't do it, dude. It won't open for me. Thanks, dude.
You're welcome. I lift. BuckedUp.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off at checkout. But in the description below, click the link. You guys get your 6 free buck shots. It is well worth it. I think you are going to see. You will love it. BuckedUp.com, the official energy provider of the Monty Show. Glenn, San Diego State Aztec, my guy. Glenn, where you been? Sway some more, Jake. You'll get that buck shot
dude,
open.
I just couldn't get it open, dude.
Well, again, I'm at the gym pretty much 5 days a week at 5 in the morning. I don't know where you are. You're at home in bed with your hot girl, you know. Let's see. First one in, Harry Austin for $10. What hammer dropped? Outside of impacting the integrity of the game for this week, the punishment is a joke. Suspend him midweek or next week, but Friday afternoon is a signal of weakness by the Big Ten. Not in any way, shape, or form is it a signal of weakness. Now, I agree with you. The suspension is toothless. It means nothing. Doing it today was a product of a couple of things. Sources told us that the Big Ten wanted to go back and touch base with the NCAA and talk through the process and talk through the evidence and make sure that they were in lockstep with the NCAA before they handed down a punishment. I think it's important because very clearly, and I'm not mansplaining, but very clearly the Big Ten and the NCAA are partners. And you want to make sure that you are acting on good information, that you are in lockstep with your partners. So I think you needed a day to do that. I would also remind you, when did Michigan respond? Michigan responded late Wednesday night. So you chewed up the entire day on Wednesday. The Big Ten took Thursday to review, due diligence, respond. I think there were, or at least I was told this morning, there were conversations between Michigan and the Big Ten. They were discussing, and I think there was some delay in there. I think the Big Ten was trying to conference with Michigan and discuss certain angles, and I think that that's why it came out so late. I don't agree in any way, shape, or form that they were like, oh, it's Veterans Day, we're going to release it on Friday. Well, you would have released it after close of business yesterday then. I think they were trying to make sure that they covered all of their bases because they knew Michigan was going to come out and sling mud at them. But still, what has Michigan not done? Denied culpability, denied responsibility, denied it happened. They haven't done that. Harry Austin gives us $5 more. Must be good weather in San Antonio. I'm not against the suspension of Harbaugh, but it should have happened sooner, and it should be greater than this joke of a hammer. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. I think the sooner part was very difficult. I don't think that there was – it's not like they wrote this and then just sat on it for, 36 hours.
And by the way, let's say that they did. You had it coming, right? I mean, if you want to be treated nicely, then maybe treat the Big Ten nicely. How about that?
I think that is very true. I think there is no question that their harsh and over-the-top excuse-filled response to the Big Ten, the Michigan's harsh over-the-top excuse-filled response, absolutely hurt them here. And again, I think there is no doubt in my mind that if Michigan had responded with, we take full responsibility for the actions of our staff. However, we believe that this is an NCAA issue, and we believe that any investigation and sanction should come from the NCAA. I think there's a chance Tony Petiti may have just done a financial penalty. I think there's a chance he may have fined Michigan and fined Jim Harbaugh $250,000. That's a number I heard repeatedly earlier in the week. And then once they insulted Tony Petiti, they called his integrity into question, they called his ethics into question, they called his authority into question, it was over. And I think Michigan's bloviating over-the-top confidence and arrogance really hurt them here. I think it's very hard to deny that. Logan for $10. A good compromise is when both parties are dissatisfied, and I think that that's what we have here. Larry David, neither pro or anti-Michigan side got what they wanted. Well, maybe. You could be right. This punishment was just window dressing. The letters showing their guilt and what the NCAA actually has. The NCAA has more evidence that it cannot share to the big. Oh, no, I think it's not sharing it publicly. The Big Ten knows every single inch of evidence here. The Big Ten is well aware. I think the Big Ten is being very pragmatic. They are baiting Michigan, and Michigan is taking the bait because they continue to release these statements. We're a tough guy. You're a POS. You're nothing. You're nobody. This isn't going to stick. These charges are trumped up. And all this stuff. It's a witch hunt. All this stuff that Michigan fans have been running out. It's a conspiracy. I think the Big Ten's like, yeah, boys, come on. Write me another letter, please. I'm just going to put it in this file over here. Oh, you want to go to court? Yeah, please. Go ahead, go to court, file. You and Jim. Oh, you're going to represent Jim too. Okay, great. Go ahead, file for that injunction. Can't wait for that hearing. I truly believe.
You have no leg to stand on, bro.
And this is the part that so many Michigan fans don't want to acknowledge. How many Michigan fans were in here last week calling me an asshole and saying I didn't know what I was talking about because I said, when is Michigan going to deny this? I asked last week. I asked all of this week. When is Michigan going to say we did not do this? Our defense is we did not do this.
Never.
Never. They never once did. And why is that? And it's exactly what I said, and I don't mind patting myself on the back. It's exactly what I said. When you cannot defend your actions because your actions are indefensible, you go on the offensive.
Absolutely.
You start insulting people and attacking their credentials and attacking their credibility and attacking their position.
Which is pretty incredible in this case because of who you're attacking. I mean, I understand the strategy if you're attacking someone who is below you, doesn't have level footing, like, you know, doesn't have the power to leverage you, like that type of situation. Cool.
Yeah.
Go out and play bully ball. Totally get it. But you're barking up the wrong tree here, man. You're trying to put down a commissioner who's newly seated in the conference. Did you really think he was going to fold?
I think Michigan is very lucky that Kevin Warren is not here. Because if Kevin Warren was still in position, I think Jim Harbaugh would be suspended indefinitely. I have heard so many people say Tony Petiti is trying to navigate the waters of his first real controversy. And he was still riding high off of the expansion win and TV money and just all of his partners in line. And then this Michigan thing happened. And then Tony Petiti met with the coaches. And what did Michigan say after the coaches call? They're just emotional. They're pissed we're winning. Okay. Then Tony Petiti met with the athletic directors. And what did the athletic directors say? Oh, they're just emotional. They're upset we're kicking their ass. Okay. And then he met with the presidents, including President Santaono, who was on the entire president's call. And it was much more cordial. But what was the overwhelming, message to Tony Petiti from all of his presidents? We support you 100% in whatever decision you make and what discipline you want to hand down. And what happened Monday? What started this past Monday? Michigan going on the offensive. Because what happened Saturday? Santaono and Tony Petiti met in person, and then there was a president's call, and everybody supported Tony Petiti. And so Santaono went on the defensive, but went on the offensive? What didn't Santaono do on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday and so far on Friday? He has not extended Jim Harbaugh's contract because he's seen the evidence. The Big Ten has shared the evidence with Michigan from the beginning. Santaono knows he's a very smart individual. Michigan knows they're very smart individuals. They are playing the public perception game because this isn't about sign stealing anymore. This is about a university, whether it's Blake Corum and his LLC, allegedly, whether it is, Connor Stalions, just, hey, he's an analyst. We had no idea.
Sign stealer guy.
Even though he had to be talking to the coordinators at a minimum. We had no idea. It's Jim Harbaugh, hamburger guy, Zoom workout guy, not going to cooperate with the committee on infractions guy. This is a program that is unchecked, that is running wild.
That is now getting checked.
And they don't like it. I think that's what you are dealing with. That's why Michigan wants the Big Ten to hold off, because they know once this football season's over, and I think once we get into the new year, there's going to be a lot more bad news for Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. And my guess is when this football season comes to an end, Jim Harbaugh's time at Michigan's coming to an end, because they have not, even after all the chest pounding.
No, we're extending them, and it's going to have all this verbiage in it, and nothing here, nothing to see. You guys are just haters. This is Ryan Day and his family trying to get us. Like, dude, how many different ways you want to spin what you did? Because Tony's not playing games, and I don't think the NCAA is playing games either.
It's pretty remarkable. We're talking about the suspension of Jim Harbaugh, 3 game days away from the Michigan football team. Obviously, you are well aware that Michigan takes on Penn State tomorrow, big noon kickoff at Beaver Stadium, Happy Ending Valley, against the Fighting Paternos in what is easily the most difficult opponent that Michigan has faced so far this season. They are a 4-point favorite in that game. It is Penn State's last stand for any crack at the college football playoff. You'll remember that Penn State is 10th in the current college football playoff ranking. So this is a must win for Penn State. One of the things we haven't heard yet is what are the ramifications of not having Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines to the college football playoff committee? I think that is one that must be measured. Let's see. The Big Ten had to tell Michigan to suspend Stalions. It spells that out clearly in the letter to Ward manual from the Big Ten. The public statement means nil. I don't know. I don't know that I would say that they had to tell. I think Michigan offered up a what I don't know what you would even call it. They gave the Big Ten an offering and said, here, take my bloody dead lamb. Spare me. Here's my bloody dead lamb. Right? And Connor Stalions nobly fell on the sword. Right? He
even put out a statement saying Jim never knew. Coaches never knew.
That's my Ronin right there, man. He fell on the sword.
Fine Steeler guy.
But did you really think that was going to stop discipline?
Yeah, and by the way, haven't heard word one out of Central Michigan. Notice that? Radio silence as far as Jim McElwain is concerned.
Yeah, because the NCAA is now investigating them.
So don't tell me that the NCAA doesn't have an absolute boatload of evidence to come down on Michigan for this. Look at that. Yeah, who's buddy there on the right with the glasses? Yeah, dude. What's up? What's up, sign stealer guy? Man, really paying attention there.
I mean, it's pretty the reach and the scope of this investigation and this scandal is this is just the beginning.
Yeah, just scratching the surface, man.
That's all this is, because I think it's awfully difficult when you have Connor Stalions standing this close to Jim Harbaugh, this close to the coordinators, being this intense around the players and the coaching staff. I just don't see how you can have Connor Stalions standing directly next to coordinators, and you can honestly, with integrity and ethics, make the statement that your coaching staff didn't know what he had done. Man. Oh, by the way, did I mention it doesn't matter if they knew? Because now we're done with the Big Ten. Now we're at the NCAA level.
Yeah.
This is what it is.
Yeah, it's cutthroat.
And I'll be curious to see if the NCAA takes a protracted amount of time to investigate this. I am curious. I am really, really curious as to what will happen here.
Dude, I also think these next 3 games for Michigan are more consequential than just, oh, well, hey, did we win or lose, or what our path is to the playoff. I mean, if you're the NCAA, you're paying attention. Like, let's say tomorrow, not that I think they will, but let's say you lose tomorrow and you get knocked out of the college football playoff top 4.
Ooh.
Now the NCAA has more incentive to pick up the pace because now it's like, okay, well, if you're not going to go to the playoff, what are we really waiting for? I mean, you're not playing for anything at that point. I mean, obviously the bowl game, but it's not like you're playing for a national championship. And that's what I think by NCAA standards is super important.
Yes.
If Michigan goes out and wins a national championship, they need to let that happen because that's then part of the story.
Yep, totally agree. Taiwan X for $2. Michigan fans want to join the SEC. Good riddance. There's a lot of, have you guys noticed the vitriol towards Michigan today has really ticked up after this announcement?
Well, I just think there was no reason for Michigan to be an asshole about it. Because that's what you were being.
Exactly.
Like, you just thought it would be a good idea to take out your pen and write a mean-spirited, bully-laden statement on top of that response. And again, I try to be as level as I can be, right? Try to be as objective as possible. But I don't understand why you tried to bully a guy who's new in his position.
I don't get it.
Because like, you would have never, in my opinion, they'd have never done this, to your point, to Kevin Warren. You'd never done this strategy to Kevin Warren because Kevin Warren was a veteran. Like,
they view Tony Petiti as being weak.
Right. Like,
no doubt.
So Michigan's saying,
well,
this is a new guy on the block, first scandal. We can push this guy around.
We're Michigan.
But if you're Tony, you're sitting here saying, dude, I'm the new guy on the block. I am not about to be intimidated or pushed around. And again, I think Tony deserves credit for this. I can't emphasize this enough. Tony can't be out here kneecapping Michigan from a financial perspective.
Well, and what he can't be doing is like, oh man, Connor Stalions was suspended. All right, here's a punishment. I think he's handled this wonderfully. And you know what else he did? Having read now most of the Big Ten punishment, handbook rules on punishment and discipline in the sportsmanship clause, he followed it to the letter. He did not deviate at all. And in fact, he went above and beyond. He, as I said, not to be redundant, interfaced with the NCAA, talked to his coaches, athletic directors, and his presidents. And then wrote the letter, gave it to Michigan, waited patiently for them. Tony Petiti has not said two words the entire time. And Michigan just kept going after him publicly, very publicly, copying chapter and verse off of Michigan blogs and releasing statements from Jim Harbaugh's lawyer.
How embarrassing.
Like constantly going after Tony Petiti. You're not following process. You're trying to hurt us. You don't like Michigan. You're an Ohio State fan. You're an idiot. Like just constantly going after Tony Petiti. And he's just dropping it into his file, putting marks on the wall, dropping it into the file, right? Every time they say due process. Just, hey, man, keeping dates, keeping scores, keeping receipts.
And that's the luxury you have as commissioner.
Because you're not the one who's in the wrong. But, and I feel like I say this every day, so again, I'm sorry to be redundant. Just shut up. Michigan, shut up.
Blake
Corum should never have met with the media. Because what did it do? It just stirred up more of the kindling.
And I do think if you're the
what
NCAA,
are you doing?
Dude, if you're the NCAA, this Blake Corum angle is possibly the one that puts this case over the top for like bigger.
Jake, stop. Just stop it. Blake Corum's lawyers all over it. What does he have to worry about?
Well, look, I know that Blake Corum is a Camaro guy, not a Mustang guy, so we have less to worry about. You know, I get it. I understand. But it's incredible to me that Blake Corum is out here talking to the media and is just so casual with it. Like, the more we talk about this and the more I look at Instagram posts like this, look at the arrogance in this picture. Because remember, at this time, nobody knew anything about this. Right? Blake's just out here flexing. I'm a walking LLC, bro. Right? Make me a business.
And you know what I was told about this picture? It is not insignificant that it is in front of Michigan Stadium. That is the big house. That he's got his Camaro and the name of the LLC in front of Michigan Stadium. That's not you are on NCAA grounds, my friend. And I think his biggest mistake was talking about this. I truly think that the biggest mistake he made was bringing this up. And I don't know. I seriously doubt his attorney ever makes a comment about this. because I think he signed it. And I don't know if he was pressured or felt pressured or thought he needed to say something. Whoever advised Blake Corum, because you can't tell me he made that statement on his own. Do you guys remember Blake Corum coming out the other day and making this unbelievable statement?
A contract sort of surfaced on social media tonight that's linking you with Connor. Is what?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. My first time hearing it was when I went out to practice, and first of all, I have no businesses with him. I don't have any business with Connor, anything like that. But I'm glad whoever found it, whoever was searching the web, was able to find that. I appreciate you. My attorneys are on it. You know.
So, quick question, just real quick, Blake. You're telling me the first time you caught wind of this was at practice?
A couple hours ago?
So you're telling me that one of your teammates notified you about this?
Dude.
Don't lie to me.
It's a prepared statement. I have no businesses or anything like that with Connor. It wasn't with the sign stealer guy. At least Jim McElwain, who we're told knows Connor Stalions very well, and still called him sign stealer guy.
Sign stealer guy.
Right? At least Blake could have said, I don't have any business with Connor Stalions. We're not in business together.
Vacuums are my thing.
Yeah, vacuums aren't my thing. I'm not in business with him. But he said, with Connor, I don't have any businesses with Connor or anything like that. Thank you for whoever found that on the internet. Come on, man. You're telling me you never knew? So, and again, on Veterans Day, Connor Stalions is a graduate of the Naval Academy, and he was a captain in the United States Marine Corps. So he's just a guy who's out here lying about Michigan, who's out here lying about Blake Corum, even though in 2015, Michigan played 2015, 8 years ago, Michigan players were tweeting with him. Come on, you guys.
And it very much to me, and again, this is just my opinion, right? My opinion. It seems like a situation, now that we've seen this thing kind of come full circle as far as the Big Ten's concerned, it seems like a situation where Connor Stalions, by everybody's account, is a really smart guy. Like, everybody has said that about him. It seems like to me, Connor Stalions understood his exposure here. Understood, hey, yeah, I could get in trouble with this from an NCAA perspective. And hey, maybe that'll cost me my job at Michigan, but I'm not going to go to jail for this. I mean, I'm not going to have life altering effects from this. And so he was just doing this. He was like, yeah, I've got a full plan and system. No one's going to know it's me. I'm going to be in costume on the sideline. And hey, Blake, by the way, we're doing this thing out at my house. It's a side hustle, can make you some money. Like, we're good, dude. It's all good. And everyone just trusted this guy because his name wasn't Jim Harbaugh or anybody.
Real quick on Arizona Athletics. Did you guys hear the story yesterday? Arizona Athletics has a $240 million accounting error.
You know,
Arizona, the University of Arizona thought that it had 156 days of cash and 97 days of actual cash is what they had. It is highly irregular for a university to use their cash on hand. They're like money in the bank to support athletics. Usually it's ticket sales, concessions, like tournament money, bowl money. Bobby Robbins apparently today acknowledged that the athletic department is running at a deficit and it's a grave financial situation at Arizona Athletics and that they will be cutting sports. I said the University of Arizona, going to the Big 12 is in financial trouble because they had an accounting error that has left them with a $240 million stopgap. And Bobby Robbins is saying that this is largely in part because they're not making money on athletics because nobody goes to their games and they don't win at football and haven't. And so they're not getting support from their fans. Nobody's going to those games. Dude, Arizona, this is a wild time.
it is.
Arizona Athletics is in a lot of trouble. Okay, hour number 1 is down. Coming up for the next 20 minutes, we're going to read and react to your comments. We have over 3,000 comments on the show today. If you are watching the show right now, please hit the thumbs up button. Give us a like. I want to remind you, we're going to extend our window here by 30 minutes on the TryDayTrading.com contest. If you're new to the show, TryDayTrading.com is offering a 30-day trial membership for $10. Anybody who signs up now, it is, 4 o'clock Mountain, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern. Let's say anybody who signs up before 7 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock Pacific, you'll be entered in an opportunity to win 2 tickets to any game you want to go to in the regular season. Your basketball team, your NBA, your hockey, your baseball, which is over now, so too bad for you. Football, NFL, college football, rugby, your mom's knitting circle competition, your favorite pickleball
Professional
team,
sign stealing.
Guy. Any game you want to go to, we'll give you a pair of tickets. All you have to do is go to TryDayTrading.com/Monty, sign up for their $10 30-day trial membership. Now, that $10 is a charitable donation. So it goes straight to charity, and you get 30 days of the best day trading training. You get their proprietary software, their high-level coaching, all of their indicators. I mean, their average full-time day traders make $1,000 a day. It's $240,000 a year on average. There are people who do it as a side hustle, make $300 to $500 a day. That's over 6 figures on average. And it's a no-brainer, you guys. Once you do it, Mrs. Monty and I are in the program. It's exhilarating. It's exciting. I am thrilled to be part of it. I'm telling you, hook it up right now. Try Day Trading. Take a screenshot that you signed up for it. Hit us on Twitter, The Monty Show, Monty, The Monty Show. Jake is SLC Jake. Take a screenshot, put it on Twitter or Instagram, and you're entered to win. An hour from right now, we're going to give away a pair of tickets to any game you want to go to. What game would you go to, right? I think I would probably take a Laker game.
Probably.
I'd probably NBA.
Yeah.
Probably Lakers, Suns, or Jazz. Those are the 3 I would probably go to. But hey, go get it right now. TryDayTrading.com/Monty. If you are just tuning in, Jim Harbaugh has been suspended 3 game days by the Big Ten. He can coach during the week, but he cannot travel to or be in a venue where Michigan is playing football. And that is an important distinction because, like tomorrow, they're at Penn State. He cannot be in Beaver Stadium. He cannot be in contact with the team that day, but he can be in his office at Michigan.
It's a
let's
defense.
say. When they're home for Maryland, he cannot be in his offices. He cannot be at the game. He is suspended for game day. He can coach them the entire week. He cannot be there for game day. Significant to note, that's how he started the season. He gave himself a self-imposed 3-game suspension because of the level 1 and level 2 COVID period recruiting scandal that hit Michigan. He admitted to that by taking the 3-game suspension. The NCAA Committee on Infractions essentially laughed at him for that and said that there will be further discipline after the season. So Michigan, this is just the beginning for them. Tony Petiti at the Big Ten said they factored in Michigan's reply to the charges in the suspension of Jim Harbaugh. And one of the things that they factored in was the fact that the University of Michigan never denied any of the allegations being leveled against them for Connor Stalions in this sign stealing operation. Notably, the Big Ten said the university's November 8th response does not deny that the impermissible scheme occurred. Instead, it offers only procedural and technical arguments designed to delay accountability. That amongst the words that Tony Petiti sent to Michigan today, telling them that he had suspended Jim Harbaugh 3 game days. Let's get your comments. Ryan Willie said, Michigan has always thought they were holier than thou. Yes, in fact, I believe that is true. I would agree with that 100%. Gary Wolf for $5. This quote-unquote punishment will set a bad precedent. What's to stop other teams from doing what Michigan did or possibly worse? Well, we'll find that out when the NCAA rules because this is an NCAA violation. And I think this is something that a lot of people don't understand the distinction. The Big Ten is not punishing Michigan directly because they stole signs. What the Big Ten is doing is enforcing their sportsmanship policy. And I think it's really important that people understand that because if you look at what this is right here, This is the Big Ten sportsmanship policy. An institution is responsible for and therefore may be held accountable for the actions of its employees, coaches, student athletes, band, spirit squad, mascot, your mom. That's what the Big Ten is using to discipline Michigan. They're telling Michigan, essentially, you guys were unsporting, you were unethical, and Jim Harbaugh is going to take a 3-game day rip suspension because of that. Note it doesn't just say the head coach has to. It talks about his staff, and there is no distinction. And this is something else that Michigan has never gotten a grasp on. Jim didn't know. Jim had no idea. His staff didn't know. It doesn't matter. Nowhere does it say if the staff or Jim Harbaugh didn't know, you're scot-free. It doesn't say that. So Michigan is being suspended by the Big Ten, or Jim Harbaugh is being suspended by the Big Ten because of a violation of the sportsmanship policy in the Big Ten handbook. At the NCAA level, advanced scouting in person and using electronics to steal signs is I believe, a level 1 NCAA violation. That's coming after the season because the Big Ten and the NCAA met and discussed and essentially liaised on what the right course of action for the Big Ten here was. So again, this is just the beginning. This is very much just the beginning. Robert Vogt for $5. What about the DC and the OC? They were the ones directly involved. It's like poking a zit with a needle and not squeezing it. Wow.
Nice analogy, Slick.
Okay. I mean, I don't disagree. And I think the question will be, okay, because I think most of people who observe college sports, I'm certainly one of them. I believe that Jim Harbaugh, the day the football season ends, he's done at Michigan.
Correct.
Which likely means his staff is done.